So I know it's been a while since I've posted something, right? Almost 3 weeks at this point. But I finally get to talk about Starfield, right? I figured this was the good video to come back to. Between this and Mortal Kombat, this was the one I wanted to come back with. Because if there's one thing I'm good at, there's one thing in all my years of gaming, my years of making videos and writing all these scripts and planning out videos and all of that stuff, even when I take breaks, just talking. One thing I'm good at, it's talking shit about games I absolutely hate. So now that I've more than likely lost about 95% of the people watching this video, let me just give it to you plainly. I tried. I really tried. I played for 11 and a half hours, and I can't. This game sucks. This is the worst. I made a list of pros and cons, right? Because it's too late at this point for a review. It's not worth it. Typically when I do an after the hype video, that's for games that are good. And so this is just going to be a Starfield rant. I don't know what the title's going to be, but that's what this is going to be. Alright, so let me go ahead and just rapid fire you off some of the smaller points, right? And I'll go back over some of these later. There's going to be no structure to this, but let me just give you some of the fire ones, okay? The game's ugly as hell. Why does this look like Fallout 4? And I know it looks better than Fallout 4 sometimes, but why do especially the people and the faces, and why is this 30 FPS? That's really what I'm asking. Why is the game in 30 FPS? Why? I'd rather play in 1080p. I don't care. I don't want to play in 30 FPS anymore. I'm tired of it. The game looks like trash. People's faces look like trash. People look like they're not there. Like, this game just looks bad, right? I'm not saying it always looks bad. I'm not saying it can't look good. But a majority of the time, it looks bad. Again, I'm just jumping around. And maybe this is because I came off of Baldur's Gate 3 straight into this game. But the dialogue is not bad in a sense, but it means nothing. Right, and it's not specific to Starfield, right? If I rant about every single micro problem I have, we're going to be here for hours. But a lot of games, not just Starfield, have the problem of giving you dialogue options where realistically it's just 3 of them are lore and 1 of them is progress the story. This game does the same thing, right? And after playing something like Baldur's Gate 3, where each one of those dialogue options has a unique outcome and impact on the game and the story and who's alive and who you can play as a whole, that was just boring here. Very quickly, more quickly than usual, I stopped picking lore options and just picked the one that I knew would progress us into the game. Right? Again, rapid fire off some ranting cons, problems I have with the game. Right? The loading screens. This is the main thing you've seen about this game. Loading screens suck. They're there, and they're awful. Now, are they as bad as everyone says they are? Kind of depends on the efficiency in which you play, and we'll circle back around to that later. Let me rant about some other things. If the gameplay you're watching for this video seems incredibly boring, it's because that's how the game is. In my 11 and a half hours of playtime, I was in combat 4 times, and one of those is the first mission where I would say it's forced, right? So realistically, I came across combat 3 times in 11 hours. A majority of your gameplay, unless you're just primarily running main missions, which is not what these types of games are for, they're to explore, that's kind of the whole point here. Unless you're primarily running main missions, you're not going to run into interesting things to do that often. Now, I'm sure as you get further in the game, it picks up. The combat gets harder, it's more frequent. Once you learn the loop, you're more efficient at getting to and from the combat, all of that stuff. I'm sure that's there. But if you can't interest me in your first 11 hours of your game, that's a problem. A lot of the posts I was seeing about this game were saying, oh, well, you have to get through the first 10 hours, you have to get through the first 15 hours, and then it gets good. I should not have to play that much of a game to where it gets to the good part. That's a problem. That just means your game sucks, right? I don't have time to play through 12 hours of badness to enjoy 5 to 6 hours of it. I don't have time for that. Circling back around to the world and what you're actually doing. So, my favorite word, your central gameplay loop, right? If you're doing main missions or side missions, a majority of your gameplay is going to be go somewhere, talk to somebody, get in your ship, fly somewhere else, talk to somebody, repeat. That's essentially the core gameplay, and then fight people here and there along the way, right? You have a skill tree and all of that good stuff. That's your typical stuff I would go over in a review for a game, But I just want to talk about my problems here, and because I feel like I have some unique problems to other people, and then I will repeat some, obviously. But I just want to rant about some of the things. So yes, there's a skill tree and all of that stuff, but your main gameplay loop is talking to people, flying around, talking to other people, doing some combat in between. Right, now the problem with that is that if you only do main missions, if you do what anybody wants to do in an open world RPG game, especially one in space, if you explore at all, you use the big E word, right, this game falls apart. So let me just set the scene for you guys. Now, funny enough, the exploration is so bad, I forgot to record it. So, let me just give you an example, right? You're landing on a planet, you go to a new planet after you've fast traveled and get through all these menus, which we will circle back to in a minute. You land on this new planet that you've never been to before, right? You're ready to explore this new planet. You don't have a mission marker here, you don't have a side mission, a main mission, you just came across a planet and thought it looked cool. You land there, and you're like, hey, what's that over there? Let me go see what that is. And either one of two things is going to happen. Option number one, you're going to hit an invisible wall, and you can't go that far, which fine, I have no problem with this. People were complaining about this, and I want to be very clear. I never expected to be able to land on the planet and go as far as I wanted. This isn't No Man's Sky, I knew that. Now, point number two is where I have a problem. I go see, hey, what's that thing over there? I go over there, and it's some solar panels. It's not a chest, it's not a side mission, there's no enemies, it's just a solar panel. I just ran 500 meters, took about 3 minutes to look at some solar panels. Now I have to run back. What's that thing over there? I go run over there, it's some other useless piece of crap, right? And so my point is, the exploration is tied to the main and side missions. The exploration is going from planet to planet within the main and side missions. Exploration should passively lead to quests, to the main and side missions, to loot, to fights. It shouldn't be the other way around. The exploration shouldn't be the main mission, right? And so, to make my point, going back to Baldur's Gate 3, when you're just exploring the map in Baldur's Gate 3, just walking around, you can come across somebody that needs help, a cow in a stable, and this will get you a quest, which gets you loot, which is interesting. In this game, that's not how it works. You have to go talk to that guy that told you to go do this thing, to go to this place for there to be something there. There's 1,000 planets in this game. I would have much rather there been 10, and there been stuff on them and stuff to do passively, rather than forcing myself to go track down the progression and the story and the world and all of that stuff. I should just come across that as I'm going about my regular gameplay experience. So, now that we've talked a little bit about the bad things, let me flip over to the good things, alright? So, there are a couple pros of this game. There are a couple things this game does right. One, the weapons are okay. They're not good. The combat's not good. I wouldn't say that I enjoyed the combat, but it was better than I expected. It looked really bad, and it was okay. So I'm giving that as a pro. I'm giving that as a point. I'm working with what I got here. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, docking with other ships and like the space combat, all of that, what is there with the ships is good. It's just the reason to use the ships that's the problem. And then again, we'll get to that in a minute. I have a long list of cons we're gonna go over. The persuasion system in the dialogue is good. It's not just like, hey, let me click this option and I either can or can't. There's a bit more to it. Are you going to use the correct choices with that cost certain amounts of points and all that stuff to persuade the person? And yes, there is just a skill tree aspect to it, like in most games, but it's a bit more involved. The character customizer is fairly decent. I mean, it's not anything insane, again, comparing it to Baldur's Gate 3. It's nothing on that level, but being able to choose like starting attributes and a couple of like history traits and all of that stuff, that's something that it's not incredibly new or, you know, a first time for a game, but it's different and gives you a couple of starting points off the bat that's at least a little bit enjoyable. Lockpicking is, again, not new, it's not unique. There's lockpicking in a lot of games, but the way it is done is different enough to keep it refreshing, at least for a little bit. Now, let me talk about the final pro, well, kind of switching back over into the cons. So, the shipbuilding. Right, the shipbuilding is good. right? The idea of being able to build your ship either from scratch or modify what you have, you know, take parts from different ships and manufacturers and all of that stuff and build what you want in a game like this. It's a really cool concept. My problem, and this is where we switch over to the cons with the game, is that there's no reason to do that. And so let me kind of give you an example here. So when you're on a planet, right? Let's start at stage 1. You're out of your ship on a planet and you want to go to another planet. You have two options. The option that the gameplay and the immersion and the shipbuilder and Todd Howard want you to do is to walk up to your ship, hit the cockpit button, which is one loading screen, puts you in your cockpit. Then hit the take off button, which puts you in space or around the planet, which is another loading screen. Then open your map or press the scanner button and jump outside the orbit of the planet, which is another loading screen. And then choose your landing location and land on the planet, which is a fourth loading screen. Then once you land, go ahead and go to wherever you want to go. Maybe you have to go to a residential area or within this colony, possibly a fifth loading screen, right? So that's the way they want you to do it. That gets you to fly your ship a little bit. You get to go inside your ship that you customized, all of that good stuff. Then there's the efficient way to do it, which if you're not somebody who has unlimited free time, you're going to be doing things the efficient way, especially when it's just for cinematic purposes, right? So the efficient way, the way I do it, right? From 500 meters outside of your ship, you can press pause, click on the mission, hit set course, and just jump to the planet, and you just turned 4 loading screens into 1. Yes, you don't get to see your ship, you don't get to fly your ship, you don't get to go inside of your ship, you don't get to go in space, but it's significantly more efficient. It'll save you like 4 minutes, and that doesn't sound like a lot of time. But with how much every single mission in this game is go here, talk to this person, and then go over here and talk to this person, and then go over here and talk to this person, and then go over here and talk to that person, and then go over there and talk to that person. If just for one mission, that saves you 20 minutes. You get my point? It's so much more efficient, but it ruins the immersion. It ruins the reason to build a ship. That was the most excited thing in my mind going into this game, was building a ship, doing the space part. Right? I didn't expect to be able to land on the planet. I didn't expect to be able to fly in atmosphere. I didn't expect to be able to do a lot of the things that people were complaining about. But I expected to want to build a ship. I didn't build a ship at all. I didn't even bother to try to understand it. Because there was no need in the 11.5 hours that I played to build a ship. When realistically, I was just using the menu to fast travel from one point to another. Now you can say, oh, well, that's the way you're playing. Yes, it is the way I'm playing, but I'm always going to play the most efficient way. I'm not going to do something just for immersion's sake more than twice. Now the big one, right? This is the big one. This is the one, aside from the ship stuff that I just talked about, this is the one that makes me hate the game. The inventory is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I'm that kid that when you play Minecraft with your friends, I sit there while everyone's building their dream house and going to the nether and going to the end. I'm organizing the chests, right? All the crafting materials on this one, all the weapons in this one, all of the ingot in this one. That's me. I have to be organized, like my inventory organized, like my inventory to make sense. One, and unless I missed it, what the hell do all these stats mean? Energy, electromagnetic, I assume is what EM mean. What does airborne mean? Physical is damage to bullets and weapons, I assume. I had to look up what these stats meant, because I didn't understand what they meant. Where it says DR up in that top left corner, next to helmets, what the hell does that mean? I know now that it means damage resistance, because I had to look it up. What does this stuff mean? Tell me what it means, it kind of seems important. But the inventory itself, every single time you pick something up, you have to press 1, 2, 3, like 4 buttons, just to go to your inventory to see what that thing is, right? Then you gotta sort through it. Now, thank God you can stow stuff on your ship from a distance, because I would have gone absolutely insane. I'm a pick up everything type of guy. But speaking of that, right, well, I'm just ranting about the inventory. There's too much stuff, right? I like loot, but I like meaningful loot. I don't need every single coffee mug and pencil and pen and notebook and computer and screen and tablet to be able to be picked up. I don't need all of that. Just let me pick up loot. That's all we need to pick up. Because I'm running around with the scanner out, there's a million things on the screen. It was too much. But this inventory, this whole menu sucks. The mission board, the journal, whatever you want to call it, fine. This is fine, this is acceptable. It's not good. It's still a bit confusing, but it's fine. The ship menu is okay. But the map, navigating the map and trying to back out of the map to go back into the inventory screen and then accidentally just zooming out into the galaxy map is awful. The inventory, when you pick up a health item, unless you have that health item hotbarred on one of your slots, you have to hit pause, go into your inventory, go into aid or health or whatever it's called, find the item, and then hit eat. There's too many buttons. I don't want to press 7 buttons while I'm in combat to heal myself. So just a lot of problems like that. Right, and so some final points, right? Just some like nitpicks. Those are really the two big ones. Those absolutely, one, the missions suck. There's absolutely no need to use your ship. If you don't entertain me in the first 11 hours and make me want to build a ship in the first 11 hours, then I'm probably never going to do it. I'm never going to be entertained, right? The inventory is absolutely awful. The menu sucks. I'm constantly forced to be in the menu that sucks. So those are like the hot ones, all right? Then let's go through. Right, and some of like my nitpicks that I haven't been over, stuff like there's no map. Why is there no map? I don't need a mini-map, fine, if you don't want to give me a mini-map, whatever. But give me a map when I'm on the planet. What they use for a map just like shows you the POIs. Give me a map of the POI, so I'm not constantly running around lost. That's infuriating. There's, again, a lack of tutorials for all of these screens, and yes, they give you a little bit, but not enough to understand what the hell you're doing. They don't show you that you can use the scanner to jump to a planet. It's just like, that's the type of stuff you have to look up on YouTube. All of these stats and the inventory, like I mentioned, you have to look all of that up. All of this stuff is pretty important stuff that they should be telling you within the first couple of hours, again, 11 hours in, that they should tell you. But that's really my notes for the game. That's all I have. And so, the reason I don't like Starfield, if you want to sum it up into one final point, it takes everything that it's promised and all of the exploration and the space simulator and the combat and the shipbuilding and the open world RPG and all of that stuff, and forcibly takes the player and shoves all that into the main and side missions, right? So it takes this whole like illusion of openness and choice and player choice and freedom and exploration, and says, hey, if you follow this path we set on rails within these very tightly defined missions, you'll get to do all of that. But if you try to do anything we don't want you to do, that we pre-programmed you to be able to do, you're going to be bored as hell, and none of that's actually there. So why have 1,000 planets when you're actually only going to use a handful of them, right? It's the marketing statements, right? Oh, well, we have 1,000 planets, 16 times the detail. Right? It's 16 times the emptiness is what it is, okay? This game should have been good. It should have been. Everything that's there foundationally is good. But it just needed to let the people do what they want to do. Don't force me to do what Todd Howard wants me to do. Let people explore. Let people go do whatever they want to do on whatever planet they want to do. Give people events and like stuff on planets, even if you want to go the Ubisoft route. If you want to throw me some outposts on the planets that I have to like clear out, or like some uplink stations that I have to go to and like defeat the bandits there so that I can get a survey of the planet to find where the camps are, to take over a planet and make an outpost. Give me something to do at all. Literally anything. And it would have made this game better. But hey, I know a lot of people disagree, and that's fine. If you absolutely love this game, whatever, you know, to each their own, right? It's not my thing. It has too many problems. It's not for me. I'd rather play No Man's Sky, right? I'm actually gonna go play that now, but that's just my opinion. This isn't a review. You're allowed to like the game. I don't want to give this a hard score because I didn't finish it, but at the same time, to let people understand how much I don't like this game, I need to give it a score, so that when it comes the end of the year in, 3-4 months, when I'm making those best and most disappointing games of the year video, I can come back and see what I gave this game. Because right now, I have to go check what I gave Hogwarts Legacy and give this a point lower. So I'm almost certain I gave Hogwarts Legacy like a 3 or a 2 out of 10. And that's kind of how I feel about this, right? It would have been average. It would have been a 5 out of 10 if there was stuff to do, and the stuff to do was somewhat interesting, and then the world was boring, and there was no reason to use a ship, and the inventory sucked, and the menu sucked, and all that stuff. I could have gave it a 5 then, if just like the menu was bad, or it was buggy, right? But no matter how much they patch this game, right, fix the bugs that aren't there, maybe update the menu system a little bit here and there, they're never going to fix the core gameplay mechanics, right? You're never going to fix the base gameplay where there's nothing to do. Or even if they do, that's going to take so long, like Cyberpunk. It's, what, 2 years later? And they're finally getting an update out to where they're adding, like, events and police chases. This game needs stuff happening to make it good, right? I don't want to be on rails to play this. And so, for that reason, I'm giving this a 3 out of 10. This game is not good. And that's with the Game Pass score, by the way. I didn't pay for this. This was free $99, and I'm giving this a 3 out of 10. If I paid for this, oh boy, this would have been a 2. I can't give it a 1 because, like, it works. But this would have been a 2 out of 10 if I paid $70 for this. But at free $99, this is an easy 3 out of 10. Because let me know what you think of the game down in the comments below. I know you'll disagree, but that's fine. And I'll see you on the next one.